Hi, my name is Officer Gaitan. I'm a Santa Rosa police officer, and I've worked the graveyard team on the weekends.
Hi, my name is Chris Mahurin. I'm a sergeant for the graveyard team as well, and welcome to our weekend update. Over the weekend, we had a bunch of vehicle pursuits as well as foot pursuits, but luckily everything ended safely.
The first incident we'd like to talk about briefly is a traffic stop an officer made on Corby Avenue at Baker Avenue. There was 4 people in the vehicle, and I believe all 4 people went to jail for various reasons. Some had warrants, some had possession for sales being drug possession. So it was a good traffic stop by the officer and a great investigation.
Yeah, I think they had heroin and meth with them too. I think it was the drugs.
I believe it was, yes.
The next incident was actually pretty funny. We were headed over to Target on Santa Rosa Avenue to investigate a crime. When officers saw the suspect, he thought the best course was to run into Target to kind of get away. Both the officers, who were in their 20s so they can run pretty quick, chased after him and ran into the Target. The officers thought they were going to lose him for a second, but alert citizens and employees pointed the direction the suspect went. Then he kind of didn't make the best choice by running out the emergency exit, which set off the alarm, which really tipped us off to which direction he was going. When he got outside, he immediately saw the officers pull out a taser and realized he didn't want to run anymore, so he complied and got on the ground. Officers were able to take him into custody without having to use any force, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, it's just great running through the store and seeing people just pointing him out. They're like, he went that way, and he's just running.
Exactly.
It's pretty funny. The next incident we like to talk about is more than likely the shortest vehicle pursuit in Santa Rosa PD history. An officer was in the area of Mendocino Avenue at Steel Lane and noticed a vehicle speeding northbound on Mendocino Avenue at a high rate of speed. The officer initiated a traffic stop, but the vehicle ended up taking off. Ended up colliding with the sidewalk just right out in front of Pete's Coffee on Lewis Road, I believe.
Yeah.
And before pulling into a parking lot, and I guess supposedly he jumped out of the car and then jumped back in the car somehow. So the officer didn't really notice it at first, but it was some craziness behind that. So it was pretty interesting, but it ended up being only about 200, 300 feet worth of vehicle pursuit, so that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and he was arrested for DUI and booked in the Sonoma County Jail, so it's always good we can get those DUI drivers off the road.
Yeah, it's just another bad decision on his part.
The last incident we're going to talk about was a little bit more serious. One of our officers was doing a security check in the area of West 3rd and Stony Point Road when he came across 2 transient males who were sleeping in a business. The officer was familiar with these males because he told them in prior weeks that they weren't allowed to sleep there because the business owner had asked them not to be there anymore. When the officer contacted the subjects, one of them he knew to have probation. When he began to search that subject, the subject told him that he actually had a replica firearm on his person. This is the firearm that the man had with him. In the dark, it actually looks like a real gun. You can't tell that it's actually only plastic because it even has a moving slide across the top. It's really important that these kinds of things aren't on people's possession because in a split second, we can't actually tell if they're real or if they're fake. It had no indicators like a plastic tip or orange tip in the front either. Good news is no force was used during this. The subject was forthcoming about having this in his possession before the officer started searching, so everything ended safely. Unfortunately for both of them, they did go to jail for possession of methamphetamine, a methamphetamine pipe, and violations of their probation.
So, once again, it was another busy week for us in Santa Rosa. We had approximately 2,700 calls for service during the week. During the weekend alone, we had approximately 1,100 calls for service, which averages about 383 calls per day, which is still around average for Santa Rosa.
Thanks for watching our second video. We're going to try and do these videos as often as possible so you can keep in touch with what we're doing on a weekly basis. But for up-to-date daily information, make sure to pay attention to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel. You can also get emailed press releases at nixle.com.
Have a great week, guys.